Marc Raimondi for ESPN at UFC 298 Media Day in this man's backyard.
Yes, I
Irvine,
guess.
California. We're not in England, but we're your adopted home of Southern California. Michael Bisping, the UFC Hall of Famer, former UFC middleweight champion, and this is a great card, Mike.
Yeah,
coming up on Saturday, 298, and Volkanovski was just in here. He fights Topuria on Saturday. I want to ask you a little bit about Volkanovski, and you mentioned it with him a few minutes ago. This age thing, this 35 and under statistic for fighters that are welterweight and below. And no fighter in his weight class, featherweight, has ever won a title fight at 35 and older.
Yep.
Is this a real thing, or is it just kind of an anomaly?
It's a start. It's certainly true. He did point out, though, a lot of the people that make up that stat, they were the challengers, not the champions. But you can't look at numbers and stats like that and make that reflect onto a person. Alexander Volkanovski is a special fighter. We've seen what he's done time and time again, the people that he's beaten, the fashion that he's beaten them in. So I don't think it applies. The reality is 35 at such a lightweight class. You're starting to get towards the end of your career, but he feels fantastic. We know he's coming off the back of that loss to Islam Makhachev, but short notice, rolled the dice, stepped up a weight class. That was always a bad idea. But hey, listen, to be great, you got to roll the dice and do things like that. So I don't think there's any reflection on him or his ability at what he can do at featherweight when you look at that fight. I guess we're going to find out on Saturday night, but I really don't think his age is going to matter at all.
Tell me a little bit about Ilia Topuria, because a lot of people are very high on this guy because of what he's been able to do against the Josh Emmett, against the Bryce Mitchell, where he's not just winning these fights, but he's dominating. He's hurting these fighters with standing up, and he's a great wrestler, great grappler. Is he as good as people think he is?
I think he is. I really do think he is. And when you look at him, he's special. He's boxing without question. He's some of the best that we've seen in the UFC. Technically, he's fantastic. Defensively and offensively, he rolls with the shots brilliantly. He's got excellent shot selection, angles, head movement. You name it, he's great. But so's Alexander Volkanovski. When you look at Topuria, look at the wrestling game. Look at the way he was able to out-grapple and submit Bryce Mitchell, a man that made his career doing that to other people. Bryce Mitchell was also undefeated. There is, however, a big difference in the level of competition. Volkanovski's been pushing back the best of the best for a long time now. Beat Max Holloway 3 times, right? And the way that he did it in the last time was phenomenal. But more importantly, because he's beating number one contenders, people fighting for the belt, he's turning back people that have an ability or looking for the ability to change their life. When you're a fighter and you're going through the ranks and then you're going to fight the champion, that's it. That's your big moment. This is the lottery. This is the life-changing moment. We get to become the champion. We get the revenue of the pay-per-view and all the rest of it. We get to become a champion. So you push it to the next level. You pull out all the stops. So for him to continually beat people in that position is so impressive. That's why it's so hard to hang on to the championship.
100%. I want to ask you about the co-main event. It's your division, right? The middleweight divisions. Paulo Costa, Robert Whittaker, 2 of the best. You almost fought Robert Whittaker at one point.
I did.
I know.
I did.
It feels like ancient history now.
It does.
Not saying you're old, Michael.
You
Bisping.
are.
But
I'm not the one standing on a box.
Are you really going to call this out? I mean, I did not want the box.
I know.
I turned the box down,
It's
and
okay.
they forced it upon me.
It's okay.
But here we are.
Here we are.
But tell me about this fight, because I think it's a fascinating fight for the 185-pound weight class. What do you think about if you break this one down?
Well, first of all, it's a phenomenal fight. Paulo Costa, right? This man is thoroughly entertaining. He's an absolute beast. When you look at him, what a natural athlete. He's ripped to bits. We know he plays with the whole juice thing. That's just a joke, of course, because of all the drug testing. We know. He's a phenomenal fighter. Look at the wars that he had with Yoel Romero. Look at some of the people that he's beaten. And even in losses to Marvin Vettori, where he showed up 20 pounds heavier, he still pushed a ridiculous pace for 5 rounds. He can take a shot. He can land a shot. He's a very, very talented fighter that maybe mentally he's been holding himself back. I was speaking to his coach recently, and he was telling me that mentally he's all there now, and this is going to be a new version of Paulo Costa. So if I'm in the camp of Robert Whittaker, that's kind of concerning. Robert Whittaker, as we know, one of the best to ever do it. General consensus, the next best middleweight after Israel Adesanya. But that was in the past. The division's moved on now. We've got new people. We've obviously got Dricus du Plessis, Sean Strickland. There's a few others. We've got Bo Nickel coming through. And just losing in the fashion that he did to Dricus du Plessis, getting stopped in the second round. Nobody saw that coming. Where is Robert? How much miles are on the clock? How much wear and tear on the body? Those wars with Yoel Romero and going up against Paulo Costa, right? Will the chin stand the test of time. We know Robert can mix it up, one of the best. The way he blends the boxing to the wrestling is phenomenal. The gas tank's great. He's got high-level jiu-jitsu, ridiculous fight IQ. And he's still a young man. I think he's 32. But it's the wear and tear on the body. Where is he at? We don't know. Saturday against Paulo Costa, we're going to find out.
Real quick, one last thing on that fight. I'm curious because both of those guys fought and lost to Israel Adesanya.
Yep.
Whittaker did twice.
Yep.
Adesanya is not the champion.
No.
Is there new life for one of these guys, the winner of this fight, in that division? Because now the boogeyman, their boogeyman is not there anymore as the champ.
Well, I mean, the boogeyman Israel Adesanya is probably going to get a shot at some point soon, right? Right. I mean, come on, let's be honest. He kind of deserves it. Maybe he earns it. We don't know. But he's still at the top of the division. But with Dricus du Plessis being the champion, obviously Robert would like to fight him again, I'm sure. They all want to fight for the belt. Who's going to be the champion by the time they get to do that? I don't know. Right, because the division's moving along these days with all the new blood. You know, it could be like kind of a hot potato passing hands, which I would love to see because, don't get me wrong, Israel Adesanya was an incredible champion, and it's great to see somebody being so dominant and reach such a level of stardom. But when it's changing hands, it makes it more exciting. So there's a lot to play for right now because, you know, the championship could change hands soon.
Final thing, I just want to get your opinion on Henry Cejudo and Merab Dvalishvili. Cejudo said earlier today that loses this fight, that's it.
Yep.
He's walking away. He's done it before, but he said this time, if he loses, he's no longer going to be a top contender. He's going to step away. Do you think that will hold? And just in general, how do you see that fight playing out? Because it's a pretty interesting one.
I do believe Henry when he says that. There's something about Henry Cejudo which I really respect. I mean, he's only here to be the best. He's not here to make money and have a great career and give his family necessarily the best life. He's already done that. He wants to be the best, and that is a mindset that not everybody has. You know, and when he says, if I can't beat this guy, if I can't fight for the championship, he's going to walk away. Yeah, I firmly believe that. That puts a lot of pressure on him. But guys like that with that mindset, they need that pressure to become the best version of themselves. However, he's going up against Merab Dvalishvili. On paper, this could be a terrible matchup. They're kind of similar in height in terms of wrestling. That affects the ability to take somebody down. Merab can wrestle like crazy. He's got an insane gas tank. He never stops coming forward. He's got a great chin. His boxing's pretty good as well. And he's just on an absolute tear. So you can make an argument both ways for these guys, but they're almost, I won't say mirror images of each other, but stylistically, they are kind of similar. However, Merab is kind of a maniac. He just never stops coming forward, where I think Cejudo is a bit more tactical in his approach and his entries and his attacks, but it's a tough fight for both men.
Yeah, great fight. I guess we'll stop it there. For Bisping, for the box, Marc.
For the box.
Stay tuned to ESPN MMA for all of your UFC 298 coverage.